Okay, on this video we want to look to see what happens when we apply an h or k. Remember, h is going to move it left or right, and k is going to move it up or down. So let's start with the k. Suppose we wanted to move the graph up 1 unit. That would make k equal to 1. So graphing something like sine x plus 1, which was what we call the midline, would then be moved up to y equals 1. Remember, the midline is halfway between the top and the bottom. So all we do is take each of those 5 points and move them up 1 unit. So the graph is going to look something like this. Now we have graphed y equals sine x plus 1. Now if we wanted to move the graph down, say to -1, that would make it y equals sine x minus 1. So the midline would be at y equals -1, which moves the graph down 1 unit like this. And there is our new graph, sine x minus 1. Now let's look at what happens when we apply an h. And remember, the h moves it left or right. So if we wanted to say move our graph left, we could do something like this. Y equals sine parentheses x plus, say, pi over 2. That would make our h negative pi over 2, shifting everything over pi over 2 units. So it would look something like this. And finally, suppose we wanted to move the graph right, say pi units. It would look like something like this. Here h is now pi, so everything is moving over to pi units, which means on this graph would be over 4 spaces. Now you notice my graph paper doesn't go far enough, but it would look something like this. So if I extend my graph out, this point here, this is 2 pi, which is the same thing as 4 pi over 2. This would be 5 pi over 2. And the next point, which you can't see, would be 3 pi. Now if you notice, I didn't change the amplitude at all. The amplitude on all of these examples was 1, and the period was still 2 pi. If you notice, we started here at pi, we ended at 3 pi. That distance is still 2 pi.